You know, EA used to be this great, grand, amazing company. No, not really. It never really was. I like to think that every company has a moment where it's at least somewhat good. Maybe EA back in the 90s was good, right? But EA of the 2000s, especially the 2010s, has been voted the worst company in America twice. I mean, that's saying something when it beats out, a lot of other terrible companies. Much to EA's chagrin of going, come on, guys, we're really not that bad. Come on, we're really not that bad. They keep finding ways to screw up. I mean, so much so that here it is only a few months after the release of Battlefield 5, and I picked it up the other day, brand new, unopened, totally sealed, for $20. I had a couple things with Best Buy that got me that $20, but still it's half off right now, and the Firestorm mode dropped yesterday, and it's actually a pretty decent Battle Royale. However, they have done a lot of things that are bad. Anthem has effectively tanked. It was rushed out to meet demand that wasn't there. BioWare is now taking a hit. DICE is taking a hit. When they tried to repurpose parts of World War II in a way that weren't necessarily the most historically accurate, at least according from an outside perspective. My friend Kraut T has suggested otherwise. He has a whole video series on it. You can check that out if you want. But still, EA has done a lot of EA stuff. I mean, there's always a Star Wars Battlefront 2 situation. That's a bad one, right? But today we find out that Andrew Wilson, the head of EA, announced that over 350 people were getting laid off. That's no small number, even for this massive mega corporation. 350 people getting laid off is a paltry sum to the 4,000 to 10,000 people that are going to be laid off because of the new Sony or the new Disney Fox merger. But still 350. Now this is what the letter he sent out says. Today, we took some important steps as a company to address our challenges and prepare for the opportunities ahead. As we look across the changing world around us, it's clear that we must change with it. We're making deliberate moves to better deliver our commitments, refine our organization, and meet the needs of our players. As a part of this, we have made changes to our marketing and publishing organization, our operations teams, and we are ramping down our current presence in Japan and Russia as we focus on different ways to serve our players in those markets. In addition to organizational changes, we are deeply focused on increasing quality in our games and services. Great games will continue to be the core of everything we do, and we are thinking differently about how to amaze and inspire our players. This is a difficult day. These changes we're making today will impact about 350 roles in our 9,000 person company. These are important but very hard decisions, and we do not take them lightly. We are friends and colleagues at EA. We appreciate and we value everyone's contributions, and we are doing everything we can to ensure we are looking after our people to help them through this period to find their next opportunity. Sincerely, Andrew Wilson, CEO of Electronic Arts. Now, I think we all realize here that that's generally speaking a load of crap. Because that was the public-facing letter, right? That was the public-facing letter. There was another one that was sent to developers, and this is essentially what it says. It says the letter to employees by Wilson and claims that the goal is to streamline decision-making in the marketing and publishing departments, improve its terrible customer support, and change some of its internal strategies. Now, it will also improve the quality of EA games and other stuff too, saying EA Studios has launched new initiatives to reset our framework for delivering quality, drive, and our creative process, improve player experience, and set an agenda for disruptive innovation in our game. So, of course, May 7th will then be the next earnings call, which we're going to learn a lot more about this. As we can see, there was very similar things between the forward-facing memo as well as the internal memo. But trying to sit here and say that they're going to, launch new things to push things forward, I don't fully believe it. EA is about money and money only, and they've been losing money. Not only have they lost money from Star Wars Battlefront, which was a gigantic failure, that was their own fault for trying to capitalize on a very broken loot box system. They pushed Anthem out, as I said, before anybody wanted it, and before it was ready. It should have been a lot further down the road. They basically pulled the Destiny, but I think there's too much competition in the marketplace now for Anthem to become the next Destiny. It's not that the game is fundamentally bad, it's just that it's fundamentally boring. And that's the biggest issue with all of it, is the fact that EA doesn't know how to sell these games anymore that have a great standalone single player experience. Everything has to be online. everything has to be competitive and everything has to have microtransactions, because they know that all the money they spend on these particular games, the hundreds of millions of dollars, if they don't recoup those costs in microtransactions, then the game is going to prove to be a flop, because they no longer, I think, have a solid fundamental understanding on what actually makes a good game. EA buys companies and then just shoves them up their ass like a dissolving suppository. That's what happens. And then those companies are gone. And that's why one of the biggest memes on the internet is always looking at the companies that EA has bought and utterly scuttled. And I think that BioWare is ultimately next on that list. I mean, with the failure of Battlefront 2, the failure of Anthem, we're seeing, you know, DICE in Battlefield 5 and BioWare definitely going down this path of, ooh, crap. Now FIFA and Madden and Tiger Woods and baseball, those have a dedicated audience, and you never hear crap out of those side of things anymore. Have you noticed that? You never hear crap out of the sports market, because the sports gamers, man, they're happy. Every year they get a new updated game, they get the new roster, they get the new lineup, they get a couple new features, and they're happier than a pig in shit, because the core fundamental aspects of their favorite game does not change. The rules for baseball have been the rules for a long time. Same with basketball, football, tennis, soccer, hockey, whatever, right? Those have all been the same for a long period of time. The features might change, but the rules and those core elements stay exactly the same. So what we're seeing here is a weird situation where EA and their action division, which is kind of where a lot of the stuff is where a lot of it's taking the hit. Maybe EA should take a step back, realize that loot boxes are not the way of the future. In fact, getting rid of them entirely would probably be for the best, because unless they do it in a way that is going to not be Dead Space 3 or not be Battlefront 2 or not be Anthem and the $20 Jaeger skins, okay, fine. Or Javelin, I forget, I haven't played it yet, I have no idea what it is, but those skins are insanely overpriced. They're only going to further screw themselves. What they need to do is take it back to basics, like legitimately. Focus on a good key game that doesn't have microtransactions, that isn't focused on the back end. But the problem with EA, especially with Andrew Wilson, is that they are ultimately beholden to their shareholders, which is one of the reasons why that May 7th call is going to be very interesting when we get to see how things played out. Because I know a lot of people are going to be looking at EA and assessing what Andrew Wilson says, the state of play over there at EA, and the fact that they're going to cut 350 jobs. I don't think EA is going to recover for quite some time unless they take an absolute standard look in the mirror and just go, or direct look in the mirror and go, yeah, we need to focus on the actual games and not try to streamline the process for excessive, massive monetization, which is exactly what's killing them in the first place. And that's apparent. Everyone talks about that. But because they put so much value in that, well, really the whales and the pay piggies coming in to give them that cash, they've effectively screwed their business. And I don't really feel bad for them. I feel Battlefield 5 is a fine game. It's a fun game. I'm enjoying my time with it. But at the same time, the amount of money I spent, I feel is the value of the experience I got. Had it been a better single player campaign as well as a solid multiplayer, then I'd feel I got a solid deal. But for right now, the $20 feels relatively accurate, and I'm okay with that.